Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome in once again to the voice of Camp Nathaniel. I've got to the point to where I think that's how we start every single show, with me saying, "Hey, what's going on?"
Hey, what's going on?
We should probably switch that up from time to time.
We could add a. Now I can't think of anything.
No, let's just leave it.
Now my brain's just like shutting off. Like, oh.
All right. Every once in a while, maybe throw a different accent in. Greetings, lads. How are you then? All right. Hey, what's going on? Stephen Bell here in the voice of Camp Nathaniel, and that other voice that you hear is the melodious
Lee Sharp. The melodious
Lee Sharp.
I don't even know if I know what that word is.
I'm not sure. I know it has something to do with melody, and it's an adjective I don't get to use very much. So I'm happy to be able to use it, and who better to use it on than you, Lee? So how you been doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
Doing good, man. So hey, we've got a guest in the studio with us again today.
We do.
And I love having guests. It makes it so much easier on us. That means less talking that we have to do.
We get to quiz them.
We do, don't we? Hey, Mr. Josh Haywood is joining us today.
Yes, I'm glad to be here.
How's it going, man?
It's going well.
That's good. Glad to have you in on the Voice of Camp Nathaniel. Now this is a whole new kind of setup for us. So we say new. We've been doing this since February in this format, but we only do like 2 podcasts a month right now.
Yeah, that's still pretty new. I'll give you that.
Very new. I mean, and the Voice of Camp Nathaniel has been around since the 1940s. Yeah. Come on, you know this.
75 years now?
75 years this program has been running through this ministry.
Yeah. Now, I mean, as someone who's been around for a while here, It was interesting to walk into this room and see, man, this room's transferred into the 21st century quick.
It has, man. With the exception of the paneling, maybe.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean,
the paneling's
that's
still
classic.
There.
So.
That's right.
Viewers, if you don't know, we record this in the chapel at Camp Nathaniel. Yep. We're in one of the little back rooms here.
In the radio room, man.
The radio room.
So used to broadcast right from this very room, man. And so, and there we are.
We're still doing it today.
Still doing it today. Hey, we're going to talk a little bit about Josh's connections with camp. For those of you who don't know, Josh Haywood is the pastor at Harlan Baptist Church over there in Harlan County, and he's actually the keynote speaker for our married couples retreat that we've had the opportunity to hear him over the weekend, and of course, depending on when you're listening to this, it wasn't exactly this past weekend or anything along those lines. It's the joy of podcasting, isn't it?
You can listen to him whenever you want.
Whenever you want.
This could be hello 3 a.m. listener. I'm so glad that you let us join you at 3 a.m. as you're doing whatever it is you're doing.
Hello, sir, running on your treadmill. Wherever you find yourself, it is an awesome time to tune into the Voice of Camp Nathaniel and hear from Josh Haywood, pastor of Harlan Baptist Church. So, Josh, let's start with that. You're at Harlan Baptist Church, but you're from Harlan, right?
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Harlan. So actually grew up going to Putney Bible Church, which I know Camp's got a rich connection with. Some of the early missionaries were there when I was growing up. Miss Gim, Miss Swanson, some of the Camp Nathaniel, our people will remember her or them. And so I had my connection with Camp Nathaniel since way back. But so I grew up at Putney Bible Church and a Christian home. My parents, lovely, godly people, they're still in Harlan as well, and I got 3 siblings, older brother, older sister, younger sister, and we grew up there at Putney, and it just seemed like Camp Nathaniel just became kind of a part of our life immediately. Like I don't remember life without Camp Nathaniel in that sense, and that as soon as I was old enough, Mom and Dad were sending us over for stuff, or we were hearing about it,
And that kind of leads into where we were going with the next question was,
what's the connection?
Yeah, let's talk about those Camp Nathaniel ties.
It sounds like you were born into it.
I mean, if I could be, even though I am born into it in a way in that I was a camper. I was never I wasn't a mission kid by any means.
Right. Those are a special breed.
Though I do know and have a lot of friends who were mission kids here from growing up. But camp just was a part. It was, we were doing lessons from early on, and then over here for day camps, then over here for overnights, and then over here for the weeks of camp. So I don't think I came here every possible year. Mm-hmm. I think I actually fell off the wagon one year and went to camp with my youth group instead.
Oh,
But
I thought you actually literally fell off like Mark Clark's wagon or something like
no,
that.
no, I do remember that.
Because you know it's happened.
You got a hay wagon that rolls around. Campers ride it. We promise you, Camp Nathaniel is a safe place. We have a nurse on staff when you send your kids here to hopefully, worst case scenarios, but we hopefully they're not happening.
Hopefully not.
So, but yeah, so I mean, here every summer, and then I actually was not only a camper, but then in high school, my older siblings had served on summer staff, so that naturally was the next step for me, and so I served on summer staff. I think every summer. Again,
oh wow,
it's hard to remember that actually.
That is, isn't it?
I don't like thinking about how long ago that was.
Yeah, it gets worse. Well, cool, man. That is awesome. So Josh, with a huge just history, rich, deep history with the ministries that are going on here at Camp Nathaniel. So let's talk about, man, what obviously you're in full-time ministry. We've already talked about you being at Harlan Baptist Church, heavily involved with camp growing up. So let's talk about, man, what did God use in your life to bring you to faith in Christ? Let's go there.
Yeah, I would say, God has faithfully pursued me.
Mm-hmm.
Is the way I would put it. And I was blessed to grow up, like I said, in a Christian home, and came to faith at a very early age. So I remember it was actually at Vacation Bible School that I was grappling over this truth of the gospel, that I was a sinner and in need of salvation. And I was only like 6 years old, but like I understood I needed a Savior. I understood I was a sinner. And, so I came to faith, was baptized there at Putney, so I try to remember the dates, but that's pointless. I think I was 6. But, I grew up with that faith. And I think what was interesting with God working in my heart was, I grew up as a Christian in a Christian home. But, a lot of people who grow up in a similar scenario, they struggle to really figure out if their faith is their own, or if it's just their parents. And God in his providence had me I didn't connect with the youth group at Putney. And part of that was I was like the only person my age. So it was just one of those, I didn't fit, but a lot of my friends were at Harlan Baptist at the time. So I started attending youth group there, got to do some Bible studies that were just really engaging. And all of a sudden I really started to realize, like, this is what I believe. And it's not just with my parents. So early on I had, by God's grace, just a chance to really begin to embrace my faith as not just my parents' faith, but really my own. And my parents were, I think it troubled them that I was going to a different church than them at first, but they really encouraged me that if I was going to be, working out my faith and figuring those things out, they wanted me to do that. And they trusted, that church, which we had a lot of friends with. A lot of the people that were at that church I grew up going to school with. So I became a member of that youth group and just got more and more involved there, ended up being a leader in the group. And then in high school, I realized, I wanted to continue to learn the Bible, but I wanted to teach. I wanted to invest in others. And, I was working out the realities of the very basic truths that I knew, but trying to figure out, well, what was God calling me to do? Back then I wanted to go to the Naval Academy, wanted to go make a career for myself, and that was my goal. And I actually remember, I've shared the story quite a few times, that I was a junior in high school. I was on my way for my official visit, actually, at Annapolis, and middle of the night, my mom and dad were with me on that trip, and we were halfway to Annapolis, and I just knew God was saying, like, you're not going to go there. I'm calling you to ministry. You're going to dedicate your life to that. And I would say since then, I've tried multiple times to like figure out my own way, and God's just been so gracious to push me back towards the church, towards the local church, and then towards the pastorate. And, my passion's been just to see people's lives transformed by the gospel. And I've been blessed to really not know my life apart from the truth of the gospel, and God's just been good to pursue me.
That's good, man. I think we actually, you and I may share something that I don't know how many people share. And based on what you just said, you were in the youth group at the church you're now ministering at.
Yeah.
So was I.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy because I was in the youth group at Hyman Baptist Church, and now I'm on staff as a minister at Hyman Baptist Church, and he does the same thing with Harlan.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I don't know how often that happens, but
Yeah, I don't think it happens too often.
No,
so.
not quite.
And,
So yeah, nice man, nice.
And I would say that's kind of my faith. And I mean, it's how do you summarize like the first 18 years of your life? And this is one of those things. I would just put it out there. I know there's a lot of people who have early conversion stories that struggle with that. And for me, I had to struggle with that when I really began to mature, and I'm in the middle of ministry training. You know, was I a believer when I was that young?
Yeah.
I think for me, it was, what I need to identify was it wasn't something that I did anyways. It was God working in my heart to convict me of sin, and God can do that at any age. And what we're called to do is to recognize, His work to call us.
How old were you when you got saved, Lee?
I'm trying to think now. I think I was closer to 8.
I was 12. So yeah, my wife was 4, and she remembers at 4 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But well, good deal, man. Well, let's talk a little bit. Of course, we mentioned earlier that you are our keynote speaker for the Married Couples Retreat that we've had this year, and we wanted to take the opportunity, 10, 12 minutes here that we can basically kind of pick your brain in regards to what it is that you discussed with the ones who were here for the Married Couples Retreat. What is it that God had laid on your heart to share with them, and now we get to share as a part of the Voice of Camp Nathaniel?
Yeah. Okay. I'd love to talk about it. One, I'll give the same preface and warning that I gave people at the conference. I don't know why Rick Franklin thought it'd be a good idea to ask a guy who's been married 5 years to come preach at the Married Couples Conference.
Just 5 years, really?
Just 5. Well, I mean, we're 5 years and 4 months now. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes a world of difference right there, man.
Yes.
Awesome.
So, one of the things when he asked me, I said, one, like, you realize I've only been married 5 years. He said, "Oh yeah, that's fine. I said, "Well, I'm going to preach according to that, because the last thing I'm going to do is roll up being the youngest couple or shortest married couple and try to give people advice." So I had to think long and hard about, well, what am I going to share? And I think the correlation I have is, in many ways, well, what am I doing as a pastor? Because in my situation at Harlan Baptist, I'm literally, as far as the adults of the congregation, I am the second oldest male in our congregation.
Wow.
As a member. I mean, so I'm a young guy. And what do I do, and what have I been doing for, 7 years of ministry now? And you can do some of that math there.
You're the second oldest male in your congregation?
As far as our members. I mean, we've got some kids, but.
Right, but still, yeah, man, okay.
So what am I going to do? A question, I've had to ask in ministry, how am I going to disciple men older than me? So that same approach, I talk of our church as being in a revitalization context of, we want to, realize, hey, we got to get back to the basics. And so literally one of the things that we're doing right now at our church is we're working through the New City Catechism.
Awesome resource, by the way. Are you familiar with New City Catechism?
I don't know if I am.
It is fantastic.
Good stuff.
We need to. Can we throw that in the show notes?
I think we can show. Cameron can do that for us.
Thanks, Cameron.
Thanks, Cameron.
Thanks, Cam.
New City Catechism.
If you don't do it, I'll walk up the street and tell you to. So
no, that's Tim Keller.
Tim Keller, Crossway Gospel
right,
Coalition work together for that. And, the great thing about that catechism is it's really rooted and based in the historic catechisms, the Heidelberg, and, even adopting some of the stuff from the Baptist Catechism, Benjamin Keach's for my Baptist history guys.
Really quick here.
Yeah.
Define catechism. Because
catechism.
not all of our...
It's a good idea.
Because we throw out these words, and then sometimes people are like, I have no idea what they're...
Yeah.
That's a
I
good
got to pull Google out. And
So catechism is really, it's teaching. The word is, the root is to teach. And, it was a tool used by, the church for, at this point, thousands of years, and especially used by the reformers to try to provide a way for their children, especially children and new believers, to get a summarized understanding of basic doctrines, to understand the Bible, to understand
a question and answer format.
In a question and answer format. So we've been using the New City because that was something we actually wanted our kids to do, but I told the adults, I said, here's the reality. I said, most of the adults need to hear and know this catechism, especially if the kids are going to learn it. So,
and I love what New City does is they provide a simplistic version and then a more advanced version of each of these questions that you can.
Yeah, and there's 52, so one a week, and that's what we've incorporated into our church service. So it's our responsive reading for the week is from the Catechism, and then I teach on Wednesday nights, the adults, and our children's minister does Sunday nights with the kids, working through those questions. And one of the things that I got feedback from really quickly from my church was, man, we need to know these fundamentals. Like, these make such a big difference for us to understand the realities of the gospel. What we just covered this past week, the question, what is sin? You're like, well, that's an easy answer, but when we think about, we're also preaching through Genesis right now, so we see the nature of sin and the pervasiveness of sin and the consequences of it.
Because sin has nothing to do with marriage, does it?
Yeah. And I say all that.
As it loops back around into the marriage.
And this is how it ties in. Well, like, how then am I going to speak on marriage? I can't speak from experience. I can't speak, by telling people, hey, look at me, because believe me, we don't have it figured out. But what I can do is say, hey, let's talk about the fundamentals of, and so the conference, we titled it Not Your Own, which is actually just a very abbreviated version of You Are Not Your Own, which, comes from the first question. I'm borrowing from the New City, but also the Heidelberg. I was going to read that. So what is your only comfort in life and death? That I am not my own, but belong with body and soul, both in life and death, to my faithful Savior, Jesus Christ. It's a longer answer than that, but that's the simple one. And to say that reality of the gospel points to the truth of marriage and the foundation. I know that, not that I have figured out, but that I want my marriage. So me and Madison, we've talked about this a lot. I mean, she entered into marriage, a guy who was a year and a half into his first pastorate, and it was her home church too. So I talked about it at the conference about, some of the, I'd swore I'd never, I wasn't going to date anyone from the church. She was off at college, but her dad was the chairman of the deacons and her mom's the music director. So in some ways you could say it was just meant to be.
You were asking for it, man, on the way in.
So God just, pleasantly surprised me by bringing us together.
Yeah.
But, that was something we very quickly just had to confront, well, what is marriage going to be? And, you could call it a challenge. A lot of people would say, man, it's really intimidating. Like, you're about to marry the pastor. For her. In some ways it helped us keep things at the center that, hey, our marriage is going to be a picture of Christ in the church. Like, we're called to that, but that gives us really the guideline, the pathway for us to pursue this together and to love each other well and to understand, this is how we're going to have a good marriage, a loving marriage, a faithful marriage, is by centering it around the gospel. And so the You Are Not My Own, that's really what my sessions were focused on, to focus on first, get that initial established, truth, because if you can get that, it's kind of like the North Star. It'll guide us through difficulty and through challenges. And then my next couple messages, I talk about just some instances where that really was what got us through some really tough times and shaped our marriage, even in 5 years. Everybody has their challenges, and we've had them too, but the gospel and the truth of what our marriage is supposed to be, it's really helped us. And then, so talk about that, and then talked about You're Not Your Own, really in contrast to the message of what marriage is at least talked about in our culture, because marriage is talked about a lot. I mean, but it's marriage about how someone else can serve you. Yep. It's not the Christian view of marriage, which is a view that you are there in that relationship to serve someone else. So there's just so much to just unpack, even from that first question. So that's what I've sought to unpack at the conference. And
very cool.
Yeah.
Very
just
cool.
To highlight a couple of those, because typically the way the culture talks about marriage, you get married to be happy. or you get married to like increase your happiness, or it's this very self-serving, like, well, what's going to
Didn't
bring
you?
me
I
the
mean, come on,
greatest
man.
joy? And the idea of it being like, what if it's not about, like, not that you can't be happy or you can't be joyous, but what if that's not the aim?
Yep.
What if that's not the goal? And then the other part that you mentioned it quickly there, just to highlight there, but you mentioned that in the marriage that there were problems that happened, and that it's not just perfect, or that the idea that like, oh, well, you come to Camp Nathaniel and you go to the marriage conference and we're going to make all your problems go away. And it's like, no, that's not the purpose there. Part of the problems, one, it forces you to get it off of yourself so that you're not just that self-centered working on that, but to point towards Christ there.
Yeah.
And so, again, like, the typical thing there is, if I become a Christian, then all my problems will go away.
Yeah, okay.
Ha, 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 ha.
And we're still living in brokenness. And yeah, man, it's marriage is sanctifying. It is what God will use it in our He uses our marriages to make us more like Christ. Those who he has called to that union.
Mm-hmm.
And but man, Josh, we appreciate you, man, stepping in with us, and thank you for sharing over the weekend of the Married Couples Retreat, and thanks for all you do for camp, man, because you continually serve camp. All right,
Yeah.
He's part of he actually serves on our board, and so we appreciate his service there and what he does for this ministry that a lot of people don't even see or know about. So
Yeah.
It's my joy. I mean, camp has been so formational in my faith and my life, and to be able to just invest a little bit more back is well worth it. And I'm excited to see what God's going to do through camp, because I really am. I think great things are ahead for Camp Nathaniel and all that God's got ahead for you.
awesome. Well, Lee, we're going to transition out of here. We got some stuff to talk about, right?
We got some more ministries to be highlighting, because there's lots of things happening at camp.
That's right. Stick around, guys. Be back in just a second.
All right, we've reached the part of the program now where we're going to be highlighting some of the camp ministries here, and today we are going to be highlighting, well, the reason that we call it camp.
The quintessential.
We're talking about summer camp.
We're talking about summer camp. It is that time of year again. We've officially hit May, and here in just about a month, we're going to be going strong for 7 weeks in a row during the summer here at Camp Nathaniel.
Sun up to sundown, and actually, no, just all the time.
All the time.
24/7 at
All
this
the
point.
time, man.
I think there's a break at one point during the week where we're in between campers. So,
Yeah. But listen, hey, we are excited because since we're talking about camp, we figured we might want to let you guys who are listening know, how do you sign up to be part of Camp Nathaniel this summer. And with us is our Executive Director of Youth and Children's Ministries. Is that your actual title?
I think I'm the coordinator, maybe. I don't know. You can call me the executive director. That's
Sounds
fine.
better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sounds awesome. All right, we're going to call her that today. Grace McIntyre in with us, and she's going to be giving us the rundown on, first of all, what kids can expect this summer and how they can get involved in it. Yeah?
Yeah. So our registration is up for camp. It's all online like it was last year. So if you are interested in coming to camp, or if you know a student that you want to have come to camp, all that information is online. We've got our camp weeks up on there. So to get registered, when you go on our website, we have a section for students. Underneath that, there's a little tab that says Resident Camp, and it has the link right on there. So you can get that all filled out. It's really simple. It'll make sure that we get all the information that we need from you right on that.
Our website, of course, campnathaniel.org. For those of you, if you're listening to the voice of Camp Nathaniel, then you probably know how to spell Nathaniel biblically. I always thought it was IEL or something like that at the end, but no, biblically speaking, it's AEL, NATHANAEL, campnathaniel.org. And again, as Grace was saying, you can go up, click on the students tab. That takes you to resident camp as an option from there. And then you can find out the dates as to when all that's going on. I know we've got grade school week that's we're kicking things off. We've actually already talked to Jasmine in regards to day camp, but we're talking about resident camp. We're talking about week-long camp.
Right.
And it starts with grade school week for select counties.
Yep.
Moving into middle school week for select counties. High school week for everybody. And then, of course, we have our family camp week, which we're already booked for, and then some. And then we kind of repeat the process going backwards. We've got another week of middle school for Slate Counties, and then we finish out with a week of grade school.
That's right.
Awesome. Good deal. And so, campnathaniel.org, that's how you guys need to get involved with that. Now tell us, let's talk real quick. Now, there is a fee for the week of camp, correct?
Yes.
For those who are paying. And we'll explain more about that here in just a second, but let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, so a week of camp costs $175. So when you fill out that form, it'll have you put in like a $25 fee just to hold your place, and then you bring the rest of it when you come to camp. But $175 for a week.
That's what's crazy, Lee, is, I've done youth ministry for 2 decades.
How many, when you go to all those camps, how much are you paying for?
Listen, man, to take a kid to any camp anywhere else, to take a kid to a week of camp for a summer, or a week of summer camp for a week in the summer, you're talking anywhere between on the low end. I'm going to lowball this, all right, $350 for a week of camp.
Yep.
We're talking half that cost, roughly, almost half that cost for an entire week where you get fed. Physically and spiritually, for that matter, and you have an absolute blast here, man. And I don't know of any other camp in the country that can match that value, to be perfectly honest. So it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, yep, definitely.
I'll go on and ask as well. So we talk about the value there and the things. What are you getting when you come to camp?
Well, you get to make some really great friends at Camp Nathaniel. That's something people often bring from their experience, but we've got activities based on your grade level. We've got different things. So if you've not been to camp for a couple of years, maybe you're middle school or high school, you'll find there's different activities that you can be involved in. Awesome food, always. People love the Camp Nathaniel food. So it'll just be a great week. Get to come away from your normal life and do something a little bit different.
Now, this is open to not just the kids that we serve in this area, in this region, but we've got kids who come. I know particularly we've got a family who comes from like Phoenix, Arizona,
Yes,
who brings kids in. So this is open. I mean, there are people listening to this who may be from all over, and even they can get involved with camp, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe you grew up in the area, you're connected with camp somehow, but it's open to any kid from anywhere. If you can bring them here, we'll take them.
Yeah, good deal. So we've got the website. We've got some activities as to what's going on. We got the fee, how you can get plugged in. Of course, you can go on the website and see all the dates and see when your child or fits into the schedule there. Now, there is also an opportunity for those who have been doing lessons throughout the year. That doesn't involve a fee because they've been diligent and devoted to doing their lessons, they are actually what we call a free camper. Now, explain to us how they can get registered.
Yeah, so if you are a free camper, if you've done your lessons this year, or if maybe you've done them in the past and you're a free for life camper, you will need to contact your county worker. They'll probably be reaching out to you first, but if they don't, contact your county worker. They'll give you the information so that you can get signed up and you don't have to pay that fee. You get to come for free.
And I've never heard of a camp where you have the option of coming for free.
No.
That's insane.
That just doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen, does it? And camp has been operating like that for nearly 100 years.
Yep, since the very beginning.
We are in this summer. I just heard it announced today. This summer will make 91 years that Camp Nathaniel has been an active ministry here in Southeast Kentucky. And from the get-go, if you memorized Bible verses, you got to come to camp for free. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that still continues today. That's absolutely amazing.
Which is also really cool because some of the campers that will be here this summer are like the great grandkids of people who came when it first got stared.
Yeah.
So like
crazy,
it's one of those generational things that like
absolutely
when they get older and they have their own kids and they're like, you know what you're doing this summer? Going to camp just like I did.
That's right. Well, Grace, listen, thank you so much for just letting us know how people can get registered and whatnot. Again, the website, Lee?
campnathaniel.org.
That's it.
And then you'll go to the students and resident camp, and that'll get you all the info that you need there. Again, if you're the free camper, get in contact the county worker, get a hold of us. And yeah, we're really excited. And we're we'll see a lot of you all this summer.
We will, man. It's good. I mean, we just had our overnights here a couple of months ago, and those went over fantastic. And we've got a lot of buzz leading into the summer. We're going to have an absolutely awesome time here at Camp Nathaniel. We hope you can enjoy. Hope you can join us and enjoy it. I tried to say enjoy and join at the same time.
You can enjoin.
You can enjoin us. Yeah, that just sounds really weird.
We make new words up here.
Oh, do we ever? We can write a dictionary by this time. All right, Grace, thank you again for coming in and hanging out with us. And we will see you guys around this summer.